Hey everyone, as you can see it's fall and we are working on our winter preparedness checklist today, getting our chickens ready for those cold winter days. Hey everyone, so thanks for joining us, and here we are in northern Canada where the temperatures hit anywhere around minus 40, 45 with the wind chill. We've gotten a bit colder than that, but Celsius or Fahrenheit, those are pretty much par. So if you're in an area that gets that cold or even close to that cold, you'll want to stay tuned, and we'll share our winter preparedness checklist and what we do to get these guys ready for those cold winter days. So as winter sets in around here, the rodents move in. We've lost quite a bit of feed over the years. During the day, they will get quite brazen, especially when the snow's on the ground. The mice will come into the coops in any areas we have food and grains. So we have gotten a couple of cats to help with that. These guys are the unsung heroes of any homestead. So if you're having rodent issues, we recommend getting some cats for sure. Get them as kittens. They get used to the chickens pretty easily, and the chickens get used to them. These little guys have already caught quite a few mouse or quite a few mice, and we've only had them here for maybe about a week running around out in the barn. So yeah, you want to take that into consideration. During the spring and summer, we don't see as much of a rodent issue. They generally have more than enough food, but in those winter months, they will start pushing into the barns and the coops and looking for grains and stuff. So get yourself a couple of kittens and save yourself some money on feed. We've been stuck before with running low on feed, and the highways were too bad to get into town. So you want to make sure you're watching the weather and stock up on your feed. Make sure you've got plenty on hand in case that happens. You don't want to get stuck without feed. We also take any of our beans and corn that we grow, and you can either cut the corn off the cobs and freeze it, or can it. We take the beans and we'll can extra beans or freeze extra beans from the garden as well. That's another nice treat for them. And if you have a few extra spaces in your garden, in your garage, or in the house, you can grow trays of wheatgrass. And we have another video where we show how we do that. We'll go ahead and pin that on there. But yeah, if you grow the wheatgrass, we'll put the trays down and they just go right in there and start eating the grass and scratching through the soil. And it gets them a little bit of that nutrient they're missing from not being able to free range. One of the big things we do right before winter especially is get the coop cleaned out, get it dust free. We take the compressor, blow it out as best we can. We clean out the nesting boxes and we put some fresh bedding. Not too crazy about these wood shavings. We're considering going to sand. We find that these have gotten dustier and dustier over the years. They're not quite as full as they used to be. It's more of almost a dust than it is a shaving. So we are considering going to a dry sand. I know that creates a little bit of dust, but we've managed in the past with a combination of straw and hay over the sand to kind of mitigate the dust. So when we clean this out in a month or so, we'll go ahead and switch to that. Definitely get it free of dust and dirt. And through the winter, we will try to clean it once a month or so. Otherwise, your mites and parasites can get out of control pretty quick, and the respiratory issues can become an issue as well because of the dust buildup. Here we are in our extended coop space. This is actually part of our barn, and we went ahead and converted it into a nice little open area. So in the colder winter months, when they can't go outside or have access to outside spaces, they can kind of come in here. We've got a feed trough for them and some watering. And we'll probably end up throwing some heat lights in here just to kind of give them something to go under if they're too cold. But once again, we have cleaned up the bedding in here, and we try to keep fresh bedding in here as well. We don't want too much in the way of bugs or dust. Some other things we've done in the past to provide space for these guys in the cold winter days is besides the garage would be our greenhouse. So we'd empty our greenhouse in the fall. And on those really cold winter days, it's still quite warm in there, and they can get in there and scratch around. So, and if you don't have anything like that, but you do have a space where you've been letting them range outside, just go out, pack the snow down or shovel it away and throw a bunch of straw down and let them go out. They'll go out all the way up to like minus 20 Celsius. So they'll run out, scratch around for a bit and come back in. But we want to make sure we provide them with the sand and grit that they get when they're free ranging. So all year long they free range and they have plenty of access to it. But in the winter, when the ground's covered, they don't, sorry, looks like we spooked oh, there's a cat in the hen house. Oh, so we got a cat in the hen house. They're still getting used to each other. The kittens are less concerned about the chickens than the chickens the kittens. The kittens were raised around chickens, so they don't have an issue with them. But our hens have never really been exposed to them. So when they're small like this, it's a much better idea. Getting an adult cat and introducing it to chickens may not work out very well. Especially if they have no experience around them. So anyway, back to this. So we just get these little pools from Walmart or anywhere that sells them. They're pretty cheap. We mix in the bagged sand, and we also throw in a bunch of diatomaceous earth. And yeah, they just love getting in here and scratching around, and they will give themselves little dust baths and get their grit. And the diatomaceous earth will help keep them from getting any kind of lice or any kind of parasites, really. You can see they're already into the sandbox. Now, we still don't have snow on the ground, so they're getting plenty of access to it outside, but you'll see that they more than enjoy having access to that grit and dirt in the winter. Okay, so here we are in our coop, back in the coop. So this is where they sleep. And this is the access back to their run inside the barn, and also access to their outside run. And yeah, here we have our oil heater. Now, this is what we've landed on for heating our coops. We've spent the last few years trying different types of heating. We found this one to be the most energy efficient and safest out of all of our heating elements that we've tried over the years. Even the heat lamps are dangerous in these dusty conditions. Anything really electrical can be dangerous. So you're going to want to make sure you take any and all measures when using heat sources. But we have found this one to be the safest. There is no actual heat source to touch that the combustibles can come in contact with. And when these oil heaters get heated up, they're really efficient at radiating that heat. Now, if you are going to run anything, you're going to want to make sure you have direct power. In the past, we've tried running off of extension cords. It's not safe. It's not good for the equipment. And yeah, you can definitely get into a fire hazard situation there. So you're going to want to take that into consideration. We went ahead and pulled power into the coop with a GFI on there. This little device here will monitor the inside temperature. We will plug the heater sources into that device. And what will happen is it will only feed power to this when those temperatures drop below whatever we have it programmed to. Right now, it's not up and operating because we're not into those colder nights just yet. So we'll program this to about 4 degrees. And that way, this thing won't kick on unless the temperatures drop below 4 degrees in this coop. 4 degrees is more than comfortable for the chickens, and it'll also prevent our water sources from freezing. Okay, so we've got our coop and barn over in the distance there. And here's my workshop, but I picked up this fairly inexpensive gadget off of Amazon. It's a little weather station. You can have up to 4 monitoring devices on it, and this allows us to kind of get an accurate display of what the temperature is doing overnight. So right now overnight, this is our room, and this is our coop, and the coop is staying around 8 or 9 degrees when it's dropped down to about -1, -2 real feel. So the body heat alone from the chickens is helping to maintain the temperature inside. So yeah, this helps us monitor that and give us a really accurate. We have one in the coop as well on the wall that just kind of gives us a real temp inside. And we try to cross check those and make sure that one or the other is not failing on us. So yeah, you could pick these up, really inexpensive, really handy. You could put it in the house or in your work area or in the shop, the garage, wherever you're monitoring or you want to monitor it from. And yeah, it's a pretty handy little thing. And also, gives you, if you're up in the middle of the night and you don't want to go out into the freezing cold, it's a good way to check and make sure that your temperatures are holding inside your coop instead of bundling up in minus 30s at 4 o'clock in the morning. So this device will also help us gauge when we need to actually start incorporating any kind of heat source overnight. Like as I said, right now it's still staying almost 10 above zero, even though it's dropping below zero overnight. So, but we want to make sure that it's not getting too cold in there overnight, and this will help us kind of monitor that and let us know when we actually need to put the heat in the coop and be as efficient as we can in our energy use. All right, so you're faced with an emergency situation. You're out in the country and the snow has knocked the power out. It could be a week before you get power back. You're going to want to make sure you have a space to put the chickens where they can be warm. You might want to look at your garage or a workshop, something that has a heat source, and you're going to want to make sure you've got a generator or some way to generate power. So our plan is our workshop and also our garage in the past we've used. You can set up tents, throw straw down. It's not the most convenient thing to give up my workshop for the chickens, but I'd rather the animals are safe and warm. We do have a natural wood stove in my workshop, so I can fire this thing up and get it nice and warm in here for them if we need to. But you're going to want to have an emergency plan in place. We have been caught before without power, and it is scary. So another thing we like to prepare for is chicken boredom. It's a real thing. Being cooped up, they will get super bored and start to get aggressive with each other. They will start to pull feathers out. If you start to see that, then you're going to want to figure out a way to get them some more space. Also give them some things to play with or perch on and entertain themselves with. Mirrors are a good thing. We take some old branches and just kind of screw them in and simulate the trees and stuff that they would hang out in outside when they're free ranging. Again, make sure they've got the deep bedding underneath so that they're not hurting themselves jumping down from anything. But yeah, try to come up with anything creative. We're still trying to figure out fun things for them to do. So if you've got any ideas out there, if you've got things you do to keep your chickens entertained, we'd love to hear it or see it. So drop that in the comments below. The final thing that we will do, now this won't be done until we get our first frost and snowfall, but we will be deworming. We have treated naturally with pumpkin seeds and cayenne and apple cider vinegar, all those things. It has been successful. However, these guys were out in the pasture with the horses. We did see them going through the manure. Just to be sure, we will give them a pea-sized portion of this safeguard on a piece of food just after that first frost and snowfall, and then we know they're good to go for the rest of the winter. And we do have another video that goes into a little bit more in depth if you're considering deworming or if you're not sure if you have to deworm your chickens. There's a lot of different signs and symptoms out there, so you can check that out if you want to go into a little more depth. So we hope you all have a safe and happy winter and that your birds are nice and warm, and thank you for watching.